digital economy, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. So we are going to kick off this afternoon with a presentation about this mystery building that support our digital day, every day, when we have transaction on this phone, when we have anything that is done in the hospital, everything it goes through these mysterious buildings that are behind some walls in cities or outside cities. These buildings are called data centers and are very critical for the digital infrastructure. The backbone of the digital infrastructure goes to this mysterious building. This mysterious building become very critical for the development of the future of the digital infrastructure, and we try to explain why this happened. Before going to the details in relation to the infrastructure, let me set a bit the tone in relation to why data evolution became very important. In 2023, today, the data exchange between the different entities in all the world is equivalent to 70 zettabytes. What is a zettabyte? Zettabyte is, if you consider one, when you browse the internet, you open one page, that is approximately 1,000 megabytes. A zettabyte is 1 billion of this multiplied again by 1 billion. It's an enormous number. This is the data that is exchanged today supporting our economy. And you will see some example. Facebook, every day, new data, 350 petabytes, that is 1,000 less than the zettabytes. YouTube, new data, 720. All this goes through data centers. What is expected in 2030, 6 years from now? You see the number, a growth of 23%. This means that the data center of today, that they handle 200 of petabytes per day, they will need to handle 1 or 2 petabytes per second. That is 1,000 more than what is required today. This is an enormous challenges in terms of design, and as an enormous challenges as well in terms of requirement of power, requirement of water, requirement of infrastructure. If this don't happen, if we don't do this infrastructure, we're not able to support this evolution of the digital economy. Let me move to the next one. Data centers. You see a data center here on the right side of the pictures, and you see the evolution today. Data center is something 25 years old. Let me go up here. 25 years old, and it's started with 3 gigawatt of installed capacity in the 2000. The social media implies more data, so another evolution to 7 gigawatt. Cloud again, the deployment of the cloud require again data center, 13 gigawatt. And the expectation today we are at 100 gigawatt approximately. Majority of this is North America and Europe, in other regions as well of the world. And the expectation, very conservative expectation, is that by 2030 we need infrastructure for 230 gigawatt globally. This is a growth of 10% per year. And this is very conservative. You will see from other data later on, from other presentation, showing that this growth requirement is enormous. Why we need that? Simply for these two events. One obviously is in question of today. We'll talk about artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is behind this expected growth, but not only. Today, data center, it's rely on cloud deployment. We see some example of players in relation to cloud deployment. There will be a continuous migration, obviously, on cloud from all sectors, because obviously the amount of data. There will be a penetration of cloud that today globally is 69%. North America is 94%. In other countries, less than that. The penetration of cloud will go up globally to a level like North America, 94%. Enormous numbers that is required to do. Another important aspect in relation to data center is IoT. In our smart city, in our phone connected, in other activities that we do where the connector of the unit, we will have by 2030, 50 billion of units globally connected to the internet that need two data centers. Enormous number that need require data center. All this is behind our digital economy. All this serves us in our daily life. major development is expected, and nobody knows how big will be. We, of course, very conservative, is the adoption of the artificial intelligence, generative intelligence, and so on. We expect that already 61% of the enterprise will adopt Gen AI by already 2025, and this is an enormous need in relation to data center. And when we talk about Gen AI, we'll explain later, there are these big language models that they are behind the functioning of the artificial intelligence, and this every 6 months is predicted that will double consumption of computing. So enormous number, that is an enormous stress of infrastructure, and I need a new type of infrastructure to really support this growth. What is happening? What is the drawback of all this requirement? Where we are today? These data centers today are out of power. If you refer to a computer needs power, and your computer heat because you provide power. You need also cooling. It's exactly the same. A data center is a set of many other computers that do many functions and require a lot of power. They are power intensive. They need to be cooled down. Today, the consumption of data center is approximately 1.2% of the total global consumption of power, 24,000 terawatt globally. 1.2% is data center. It's expected to grow, and this with the growth of the provision of the power as well. In 2040, 4.5% of the total consumptions. This is a very huge number. It's equivalent to the consumption of very big sector in the industry. It's one of the biggest sector in the industry and will be the data center only. Another aspect of data center today, first of all, we have seen the need power. There are regions today that they are not able to provide power. North America, Europe, those data centers are not able to come there. On the other hand, also, this utilizing power today, utilize a lot of cooling. They are a large CO2 emitter. They have a very large carbon footprint. And this carbon footprint today is approximately 1.9% of the total. This is a number that not be very publicly announced, but only this sector has 2% of the global footprint in CO2, and is equal to all the aviation sectors. All the aviation sector polluting, and you know what is happening today in the request of the different COP that have been around, COP28, COP29 this year, in terms of requirement of reducing CO2 of that sector. Sorry. If nothing is done, and the implemented growth that we had before implemented here, this sector will be 4.5% of the pollution globally, will be equal to all the utilities globally. All the waste globally management will pollute like a global center in terms of CO2. It's an enormous charge for this industry in terms of decarbonization. And you see target requirement here. I'll go fast here. You see that Google and Amazon, Oracle, some examples, they are committed with net zero target. This net zero target is approximately between 80 and 90% dependent by the data center, by the power to their data center. So data center are very key, not only to the data center itself, but to the market in general, and to the digital revolution, the digital support that we need to do our evolution and use in the world. So today, a lot of this meet with reporting, they meet the requirement. Obviously, in 2030, you will see only 2 of those. They will need to add to meet the requirement in terms of FTE, 15 gigawatt only for Microsoft, Google 8.6 gigawatt. It's an enormous number globally. They will need to utilize these renewables for their data center. Otherwise, they will never beat their commitment, they pledge that we have seen in the last slide. So what is the solution? The solution is very simple in the terms that is innovation and in relation to data center, looking at data center as infrastructure that is integrated with power supply, with water supply, and optimize and integrate these different elements to make it more efficient. And what we have is, we'll present it here, is become a sustainable infrastructure, a net zero infrastructure that has a dedicated supply of renewables. That is an important aspect. That has a certified of origin, because we don't want to take power from hospital or from other uses. We like to have dedicated power for data centers. We have a new architecture for this, because the architecture is required to make that efficient. The integration of different aspects are very important in relation to data center. And we need to have a measurable way to certify that this data center, they don't have a carbon footprint. How we do? Discovering this is very important in relation to how they function in a data center. Artificial intelligence requires a lot of computing. The use of computing need to also to be optimized and adapted to the interaction with power. All this is working together. It's not only power, but it's how the data center is working with the use of the renewable power, how data center efficient is cooled down. Liquid cooling will be one aspect of this, but also a combination between liquid cooling and air cooling. And we need to evolve this infrastructure in an infrastructure that is able to live for the long time, that is as one number for all users in terms of renting and including power, including all the utilities that typically are not there, and making this predictable for all market for the next 20 years. This is a challenge in itself, because you know the growth of the different GPUs. GPUs require more computing, require more cooling. They need to be accommodated inside the same data center. This is a huge requirement in terms of design. Another important aspect, I put it there, obviously, are two. If we do all this, we end to have, in certain regions where renewables have already grid parity and is lower than the grid parity, like Uzbekistan, all this become cheaper. So it become a very important driver to take the clients that are used this data center in a very special area where they don't have power, by the way, to come here and then use power that is green, and they will do at a fraction of a cost. Another important aspect in relation to artificial intelligence, that artificial intelligence democratize this use of data. Why? It democratizes because artificial intelligence doesn't require everywhere the latency is very low. Means the data doesn't need to stay close to eyeballs all the time. There are applications that need to close to eyeballs, but the training of the model not necessarily need to be close to eyeballs. Some inference that is using artificial intelligence doesn't need to put too close to eyeballs, plus the connectivity internationally, especially on land, will allow to support other regions to be a supplier of artificial intelligence services, not only for training, but also for inference. And this is the solutions that is possible in this region. Is a net zero data center, is a data center that integrates in itself dedicated renewables, wind power, solar power, but very much it's define a data center as an integration with certain systems, powering systems that is combined between batteries, fuel cells, and combine this as what is called the primary and the secondary aspect of the data center, typically, and gives a very high level of availability. This system can be connected with the grid or can also not be connected with the grid. But the system has 100%, we try to say, availability in terms of power supply. And on top, the fact that the integration of this power system is done inside the data centers in a manner that allows the optimization is also much better to be utilized for artificial intelligence. Much better to manage the spikes of artificial intelligence, much better to allow the efficiency of computing. And this is possible only because this type of integration is done. On top of this, obviously, there are certain regions that are able to provide this power lower than obviously the grid power that is today not close to be fully 100% green, meeting the requirement. And at the same time, there are some regions that also a lot of availability of land, so the ability to provide to the world the power that is required for these data centers. So what do we do here? This is, of course, a concept, a global concept. What do we do specifically for our data center in Uzbekistan? Uzbekistan is a region where all this aspect comes together. There are a lot of beneficial aspects for this region to supply power computing for the world, especially for artificial intelligence. And this is a first worldwide. In our first data center, the 10 megawatt data center in the center of the city, will we be able to use existing power generation from the grid PV and solar, track this as origin, define origin, and put this in a systems. That is the system that we explained before is a combination between fuel cells and powering by hydrogen, fuel cell and battery, that allows to define a full provision of green to the data center that is synchronous. So when it's produced, is also utilized, and is additional because it's only dedicated to the data center. This meets the two major requirements of the hyperscaler that we have seen before. Hyperscaler clients, they don't need only power with correlation that is 1 year, I have power that comes from the grid that is green, but they need more and more PPAs, they need more and more integration of power in the data centers. At the same time, this data center has the ability to accommodate, for this reason, to accommodate the use of artificial intelligence. This data center will have liquid cooling for applications, artificial intelligence, high density, high computing. This is possible already for this data center, and we'll have also the accommodation of high density, what is called the high density for cloud and IoT. Even in this data center, in the center, we're able to do this. And this certification is done with international authority, as we said before, IREC, that will make the certification global, recognized. This is a first in the world, example for all the world. What we'll do later on? Later on is obviously what you have seen is the implementation of these integrated solutions, which definitely focused on the use in mega campus for artificial intelligence, training and inference, making Uzbekistan the best place globally in order to be connected in terms of doing lower cost training of models, are very much required, provide this capacity to the world where it's not available, and also providing low cost inference capability for the regions. And then eventually, if connectivity will come with Europe and US and other regions, also for the world. So this is the conclusion in relation to what I want to say, very high presentation, high-level presentation. What we will do later on, after the other session, we will come on the stage and will be available for taking any question from the attendants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Great presentation, and I think it's a great intro and a good connector for our next topic. What we want to cover next? So in our next panel, what we're going to discuss is what is the role that digital infrastructure is having on digital transformation, the role that digital infrastructure is having particularly more on artificial intelligence. For this, I am very honored to introduce our next two panelists. I will welcome them onto the stage. First, His Excellency, the Minister Sherzod Shermatov. Round of applause. Second, Rajit, CEO of DataVolt. His Excellency, you don't need a lot. Can you hear me well? Yeah. You don't need a lot of intros. Your leadership has been instrumental not only to define the vision 2030 for Uzbekistan, but also as a key implementer for all the set of initiatives that have been making great progress in the country. It's great to have you here. And for you, Rajit, as a CEO of DataVolt, just to give an intro on DataVolt, DataVolt is responsible to design future-proof data centers with a big focus on sustainability and on net zero or on green energy. What I would like to cover today, it's basically 5 key main points. The first one, we would like to go through a bit on what is the ambition of Digital Uzbekistan 2030. Then the next thing, and I think it's also relevant, is to talk about how digital infrastructure is going to enable this ambitious vision. The third one is what is the role that green energy is having on this particular vision. And then we'll touch upon Uzbekistan becoming a regional hub. And finally, the last but not the least, and probably the most important, what is the role that people, talent, play in this whole ecosystem. So to start with, we all know how bold the vision is for Digital Uzbekistan 2030, His Excellency. What we would like to get from you is a bit of what are the initiatives, what are the key milestones, what are the priorities that you have over the next couple of years.
Now it's working. Okay. Thank you very much. Definitely, we are now witnessing a very transformative project for Uzbekistan. If we start with our vision of our leader, His Excellency President Mirziyoyev, he wants to turn Uzbekistan into an IT hub. If you look into the map, Uzbekistan is double landlocked country. And it is one of the two double landlocked countries in the world. The second one is in Liechtenstein. It's in the middle of Europe, so it doesn't make many trouble for its double landlocked. But for Uzbekistan, in order to reach export goals, in order to create high-paying jobs, we have to think about providing the necessary access to our citizens to broadband networks and creating them the possibilities to have the necessary infrastructure. For ordinary user, it might be not very easily seen, but when you just try to access international websites, you see lots of latency. And just because we don't have the big hyperscalers around Uzbekistan. So this data center project which we are discussing today, I hope that together we are committed to implement it and to make it very successful. This will bring all the transformation related to improving the overall infrastructure, improving the access to the citizens, as well as providing the high quality services. And when it comes to the strategy, of course, by 2030, this is officially approved strategy, the development of Uzbekistan 2030, we have set forth very ambitious goals to make Uzbekistan among top 30 countries in e-government ranking, and to have at least $5 billion of annual export revenue from IT services, as well as to create at least 300,000 highly paid jobs for our youth. So in order to achieve these ambitious goals, we have to move fast and we have to be all committed to implement those goals.
Rajit, now. Rajit, you have global experience on supporting not only the private sector, but also public sector, governments on achieving such ambitious visions. Would you be able to share a bit in your experience how private sector can help achieving those type of ambitions?
Thank you for this question. I think the words of His Excellency were great in terms of laying out the plan, the vision of the country towards making it a futuristic technology hub of this part of the world. And I think, like in any other places of the world, the most enabling partner for the government has to be the private sector. And why the private sector? Because if you go back in the annals of time and you do all the use cases and the case studies of how different governments, different states in the world, they have opened up their own economy, it is the private sector which will bring in all the capital that is required for this sector. The digital sector is a highly capex oriented sector, okay, and it requires a lot of capital for its growth. And this capital is always coming on the back of private sector, because capital understands that it is private sector which brings in the best form of efficiency. They understand that the private sector is the engine of growth, and private sector is the transformation that the country needs. So partnering with private sector, opening up the whole economy, especially the digital economy, to the private sector, means that Uzbekistan is paving the way for capital to come in into this country, which is going to be so crucial and so important, fundamental to the transformation of this country into a digital economy. Number two, I think however capex intensive the industry may be, end of the day, the sector is reliant on the workforce, on the skill set of this workforce. And once again, it is the private sector which is always going to play a pivotal role in transforming the existing pool that is in the country, the talent pool that is existing in the country, into being digitally savvy, to being technology savvy, and to understand how they can be given the tools to be able to make the accelerated deployment of technology in this country. So, long and short of it, 2 quick points: capital, which is very much necessary for a capital-intensive business like this, and number 2, the accelerated talent development, without which this country will not be able to achieve the digital aspirations that it has put for itself under the visionary leadership of the President and His Excellency Sherzad. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajit. Very to the point. Now, let's talk about digital infrastructure. Let's talk about fiber, let's talk about international connectivity, let's talk about data centers, cloud services. This is extremely relevant. We all know how AI is going to revolutionize all the different sectors, from education, public sector, financial services, health. The question, and that is for you, His Excellency, is what is the government doing to accelerate the development of digital infrastructure, in particular fiber, data center, and cloud services?
First of all, we are inviting all the private players to invest into this important area, because Uzbekistan has a growing population. We are growing almost 1 million a year, and Uzbekistan is opening up. So many new companies are coming, and this opens up the opportunities for private sector to invest in improving the infrastructure. So from the telecom perspective, both the government as well as the private companies are investing into improving the infrastructure, as well as once again I can specifically note the DataVolt, which is making this new project, completely green data center, and in huge numbers, which is not just for internal use of the Uzbekistan companies or people, but for providing the access to hyperscalers, to provide the global services from Uzbekistan. And this should require definitely the tremendous change in overall access to global infrastructure. So this will transform Uzbekistan's global access to all the telecom networks as well. So this is ongoing process, and government is committed to make sure that we provide all the regulatory proper regulatory environment to make sure that all the players in the market have the best treatment.
Thank you. And Rajit, what opportunities, key challenges you see, and how do you think you should overcome those challenges?
So just taking off from where His Excellency has just explained the vision of build out of the infrastructure, I would have a very short and sweet request to the government of Uzbekistan, especially to His Excellency Sherzod Sharmatov. I think in order to accelerate and in order to provide the necessary fillip to this industry, there are just two quick wins that can happen. First is, the government needs to, through a regulatory regime, through a capital investment regime, improve on the broadband, the fiber to home, the FTTH capacity inside the country. If you do just some quick global benchmarking, you will see in Europe, the FTTH penetration is almost 90%. And if you look at Uzbekistan, it is probably half of what it is in countries like Europe. If we want to improve the use cases, we need to have broadband on the back of domestic FTTH. And I think this is a very important call for action towards the government, that we need to invest not only on the mobile, but also on the FTTH in order to improve the reliability of the broadband and improve on the use cases for the broadband. That's point number one. Point number two, as far as the private sector is concerned, and especially for DataVolt, which is bringing in billions of dollars of investment into the whole data center business and attracting or wanting to attract all the global hyperscalers of the world to come and make Uzbekistan the hub for whole of Central Asia and even a mini hub for Europe. We need to have more of cross-border terrestrial links back to the Europe. Right now, there is one access that goes through Russia, but we need to create diversification. We need to create more de-risking of the geopolitical risk, and that means Uzbekistan has to work with a lot of its cross-border partners in order to provide the same strength of connectivity from Uzbekistan to Europe outside of the existing terrestrial links that exist through Russia. If these two quick wins are done by the government of Uzbekistan, I think it is only a question of months, not even years, before we will see scores of billions of investments coming in into the digital sector by all the overseas investors. Thank you.
Great. Now let's move to green energy. I think it was earlier Dr. Andrea was talking about the amount of consumption that data centers will have towards 2030. Therefore, the relevance of green energy and empowering digital infrastructure is of extreme relevance. The next question for you, His Excellency, would be, what are the steps that the country is taking to empower digital infrastructure with green energy?
It was actually eye-opening that in the first presentation that data centers are currently consuming and having this carbon footprint as equal to this all the transportation industry. Not so many people know about it, and I think we have to talk more loudly about this kind of things, and therefore this shows the importance of utilizing the green data centers and minimizing the waste of energy which is generated from the renewable sources. So from non-renewable sources. So for the past several years, Uzbekistan is leading in the region in implementing the green energy projects, and the government understands now the potential of the green energy, because so far it wasn't much utilized, and now you can see that global players like Aqua Power, Masdar, and others are all investing in green energy potential. And from now on, I think that we have to move faster in terms of moving all the data centers as well to fully utilize this green energy sources. And one more important point here, it was also mentioned in the presentation, that we have to get this international certification to make sure that we are really committed to this green data centers idea, and to make sure that all these international hyperscalers also trust to these new data centers and come to Uzbekistan, and they will be using these data center capacities. From the governmental point of view, definitely we will be also encouraging all the government agencies to use the green data center, to make sure that they also have the minimum carbon footprint on nature.
Thank you. And Rajit, we've heard from Andrea how innovative are you thinking about green energy? How are you approaching this in the rest of the world?
Yeah. So I think Dr. Andrea's presentation was quite clear in terms of how the technological innovations are being brought about in order to deliver these green data centers. So I won't belabor too much into it, but once again, just quickly bringing out the key elements from what he spoke a few minutes back. I think the first important thing is to understand our first project that we are doing, which is in IT Park. We are using the grid in order to be the source of the energy. The next one that we are doing, which will be in 2025, and which will be a huge AI factory, is going to use integrated energy. So what it means, integrated energy, is that we will not be using the grid as a primary source of energy. The source of the energy is going to be self-generated, and the whole energy mix using multiple technologies of solar, storage, battery storage, utility scale storage, hydrogen, all of that will be managed by us. And what the hyperscalers will be able to see is a reliable source of energy, a continuous source of energy, a fully decarbonized source of energy, a super competitive cost of energy, lower than what they would have paid if they were buying it from the grid. So all of these four advantages would be available to the hyperscalers. And let's not forget that all of these hyperscalers, they truly understand that they cannot just rely on the grid to get continuous green sources of energy. We have heard so much about how in the US data centers are thinking of going or migrating to source energy from the small reactors, nuclear reactors. So what we are telling is these reactors, which will solve probably your decarbonization challenges, will take you 10 years to get that. But don't wait for 10 years, because in these 10 years, as Dr. Andrea presented out there, you would be polluting like the whole utility and the waste sector. You would be 5% of the total carbon that will be produced in the world will be coming from this sector. What we are giving is a solution not for the decade. We are giving a solution 2 years from now, 1 year from now. We want to accelerate the whole speed of decarbonization for this industry. And the Uzbek government, the Ministry of Power, the Ministry of Digital Technologies, they have all come together with the Ministry of Investment and helping us in giving this unique, novel, and very ingenious solution for the whole industry. And we believe that going forward, the Uzbek model of green data centers is going to be the copy-paste model for all data centers globally. It's just not a question of whether it will happen or not. It's a question of the speed at which it is going to be replicated.
Indeed, indeed, Rajit. And it's actually quite interesting to see how innovative is the way that Uzbekistan is starting. Because when you compare with other geographies, you compare probably with Europe, we see that in Europe, for example, the targets on PUE by 2030 are set at 1.2, you will start with those type of targets, right? So you will not need to go back and restart again. So that's pretty interesting as well. Now, we were talking about Uzbekistan of becoming a regional hub, His Excellency. It is strategically located to become so. The question that comes to mind is, what are the 2 or 3 things that you are doing differently than the surrounding countries, and what will take you there?
First of all, we are trying to create best conditions for IT, BPO, and KPO outsourcing companies. We have been systematically doing it. Therefore, already for the past several years, we see tremendous increase of companies with foreign capital, the residents of IT park. Just for the 2 years, the number of companies with foreign capital, the residents of IT park, increased 20 times. And overall experts also of IT services were almost non-existent in 2017, and last year it was more than 344 million. If you add to this telecom service experts also, then it would be more than $500 million of experts last year. And we are committed to make sure that all those companies feel comfortable in Uzbekistan. We are providing them not just the tax breaks, we are just helping them with all other possible options. We provide the one-stop shop service for opening up, establishing the business. We're providing the soft lending opportunities to make sure that they have the necessary support while they are opening the office, they are recruiting the people, they are transferring some stuff from other countries to Uzbekistan, etc. So we are just trying to help those companies to establish, to find Uzbekistan as the right IT hub for them. And also we are subsidizing the education of our specialists. In parallel, we were doing educational reform at all levels of our education. In Uzbekistan, we increased the share of preschool coverage. It was in 2017 almost non-existent. Now almost all the families are now able to provide the preschool education to their kids. Then improving the quality of school education. We connected all the schools with fiber optic network and improving their curriculum. And we increased the access to higher education. And we are heavily promoting the online education as well in this latest report by Coursera on the share of people studying online compared to the share of, the total workforce. Uzbekistan is ranked number 1 in the world. So overall, we try to have the comprehensive support for IT companies to feel like home. And it's not just in the capital city of Uzbekistan. We are promoting them to go to the regions as well with the zero risk program to make sure that once they are trying to see Uzbekistan as a delivery center and they are committed to the long term, then it's better for them to open their offices in the regions where the youth are. So not only in the capital city, Toshkent. And of course, we are also, we have presented yesterday the new concept of Enterprise Uzbekistan, which is going to be a special economic zone where, apart from all this support, we will be having common law, English law, British law, and the international court, so that all the investors will be treated like they are treated in all the best free economic zones of the world, to make sure that their investment is protected, they feel safe in that region. So I hope that all this will be helping us to have more and more IT companies coming to Uzbekistan and opening their regional headquarters in Uzbekistan.
Thank you. Rajit, and as a closing question, because His Excellency has talked about people as one of the critical elements to drive innovation, particularly when you have infrastructure and when you have digital transformation, right? I would ask you 2 questions. The first one is, from a private sector perspective, you being as a critical element of this, what would be your key asks to the government to help the private sector, number one? And second, how relevant is for you having talent in country?
So maybe I've covered some of this already in my previous responses, but I'd like to summarize it. If there are 3 key asks that I would ask from the private sector to fast forward and to accelerate and to take this to the next level of acceleration. First is beyond the borders, what I call the cross-border connectivity. I think connectivity is at the heart of making Uzbekistan as a digital hub. Okay? I think the environment has been created domestically for a lot of things, and I think it is really, really worth applauding the vision and the leadership of His Excellency in terms of how fast, how smoothly, how successfully the digital transformation is happening domestically. But I think the country needs to go beyond its border, which is what is the digital aspiration. And the low-hanging fruit there is to make sure that we have the right connectivity with the rest of the world. And in this case, I would say more importantly with Europe than anything else. So that's ask number 1. Ask number 2 is the government from a fiscal regulation perspective has done enormous in order to attract outsourcing and a lot of capital investments inside the country. You have a lot of enabling regulations, you have tax benefits, you have so on and so forth in order to create that conducive environment. What is now required is to make sure that the big techs of the world come and use these data centers for the purpose of training these large language models, for training inferencing. And when they do that, we need to also create equally conducive fiscal regime, financial incentives for the big hyperscalers, for the big tech companies, so that they feel attracted to come and make Uzbekistan as their hub and not some other country as their hub in this perspective. That's ask number 2. And now, last but not the least in terms of the ask, which actually is a segue into your last question about the people side. The government needs to partner super actively and not work in isolation towards the talent development of this country. I think talent development should not happen in isolated pockets, and it is the collective responsibility of both the government and the private sector, because the biggest beneficiary of this talent is the private sector. And private sector needs to be managed by the government sector in a very strong partnership mode in order to make sure that we create the youth of tomorrow who are fully and digitally empowered. So these are the 3 asks that I would say.
Thank you, Rajit. And let me close the panel with that last question. Before closing, I would really like to thank His Excellency and Rajit for your valuable contributions, and I hope that the audience have enjoyed as much as I did. Thank you very much, and I'll ask for a round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we go down, we'll go now and we'll start the signing ceremony of 2 important agreements. The first one is the project development agreement between the Ministry of Digital Technologies, DataVolt, and the IT Park for Uzbekistan. We have assigning His Excellency Rajit as DataVolt CEO and Farhad Ibrahimov as CEO of IT Park. Farhad. The next agreement is the Memorandum of Cooperation and Interaction for Education on Digital Infrastructure and Artificial Intelligence. Who will be signing will be Adam Malsakov from the head of Uzbekistan for DataVolt, and Nordivek Barnaev from IT Education Association. Please.
Hello.
Thank you very much. Our next topic will be run by Gary Hazel, Learning and Development Director for DataVolt. What he will talk about is on the role, the vital role that people is playing on the enablement of artificial intelligence, on how they take this and they become extremely impactful when in societies. So I'll hand it over to Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Very exciting to see the signing ceremony, and very exciting to see what the future might hold for the younger people of the region. So I want to talk a little bit about that today. just so that you're aware. I have got a little bit of problems with the clicker, so I might have to get our team to help us. But I want to really talk about the future now for the younger generation within Uzbekistan. Now, as you can see here, this is where we are today. So the IT park is outside. We are going to build our first data center with them, but we need people to operate it. We need the young people to be trained and educated. What I want to talk about today is the challenges that we face to try and achieve that, which is quite considerable. So the focus today is on the rapidly changing environment that we live in and how we can actually ensure that we have the right talent for the future in both the digital infrastructure industry, but also very important is data science and AI. We've already covered this in the first session. We know there's a massive growth potential. And we also know from the IT park, who I've sat with over the last 2 days, that they're really active in partnering with companies. So a lot of companies are helping them to build the new capabilities within IT. But also the students, if we look at the number of graduates that have come out, and this was in 2023, so it's quite a recent report, they had a considerable amount of students who've gone through training in IT to go into the IT industry. So let's have a look at some of the challenges that we might see in this digital future. I've done a bit of research into the skills. So if you want to change your career or you want to build your career, we did have a load of students over here who have met during the last 2 days. I'm advising them on what they should be doing. And the top 3 areas you'll notice is technology literacy, obviously, big data and AI, and system thinking. So we're going to create programs that will help the students, help the trainees go through that journey. But notice some of the other skills that they need. We just go back. So analytical thinking, resilience and flexibility, lifelong learning. I have a little saying when we talk about IT, if you're not training and you're educating yourself, you're going to get left behind. It doesn't matter what skills you've got today, the skills you need for the future are ever evolving. So you constantly have to be updating them skills, recertifying, and following the trends in the market. But also look at these skills here, creative thinking, self-aware, curiosity. The data scientists of today are not only qualified, but they're the innovators of the future. They're going to come up with the new large language models. They're going to come up with the new products. Questions I get asked a lot is, I want AI. My first response back is, what do you want to use it for? What problem is that AI going to solve? And that's where these data scientists come in, because they're curious. They want to find new ideas. They want to work with the companies and create these new products of the future. Have a look at this. If I was an 18-year-old today, guess what I'd be studying at university? I would definitely be studying some computer science degree. Why? Because that's the market. Unemployment around, or lack of availability, sorry, around the data and AI is going to be exponential. It's going to grow, it's going to grow, and it's going to grow. So we desperately need these young people to qualify in that area, and there are opportunities for jobs. So every student I've met during this event, I've sat them to one side, I've asked about what their studies are, I've asked what their future is, and I'm advising them to focus on the future technologies and to focus on their majors to be in computer science. Have a look at the digital infrastructure, the data center industry. Again, we've got shortages of skills. We've got data centers that won't be able to operate unless they get skilled people coming in. We notice that in the IT park, they're already looking at this and training young people to get to that position. We're going to bring programs in that will help us in the future have a talent pipeline. Local Uzbek teenagers, school leavers, we'll take them through a program in electrical, mechanical engineering, HVAC. We'll take them to certified programs with the Uptime Institute. We'll graduate them, and then when the data centers are finished and constructed, they will move into those operational areas. And they will be the employees of the future. If we go to the next slide and have a look at what we're going to try and achieve with data science, So we're going to bring in a program that I've developed in another region in the UAE. It's the Data Science and AI program. Now, this is a bit more specialist, as you can imagine. This is where we take graduates who've got diplomas or bachelors. These are more high caliber in terms of their level of entry. And we're going to train them on a 12-month program to be data scientists. And I call it the Zero to Hero program, because they'll literally come in as graduates with no business knowledge or experience. Yes, they've done Python. They've done a bit of coding. Yes, they've done academic in terms of their computer science, but they haven't actually gone into a business unit and took this through the whole process. So the program is very much focused on the business outcomes. What does the business need today in order to operate? And what will it need in the future? So one of the key elements of this program is right at the end. It's called the capstone project. It's not at the end of the program. It actually starts from day one. And from day one, we'll be immersing them with business specialists, experts in different fields, and we'll try and solve a problem through that training program. Have a look at what we'll do on the data center. We talked today a lot about carbon neutral. We talked about efficiencies. We talked about sustainability. Here are 3 projects that we can give the students. We can take the students through this whole process of training, but to try and come out with a solution at the end that's going to help the industry that we work in, which is the data center. So one example there, you're talking about the energy optimization. You'll notice that technologies of machine learning, predictive analytics, IoT, are all essential elements within that actual research. Similarly, if you have a look on the end for the carbon footprint, you'll notice that AI is there to actually look at how the renewable energies will integrate with the operations. So when are we actually going to use or monitor in real time the energy consumption? And when will AI be adjusting the cooling or the workloads to make sure we use it more efficiently and get most benefit out of it? AI is going to play a big role in all of these 3 areas, with the ultimate aim is we're more efficient, more sustainable, and we achieve carbon neutral. Now, wouldn't it be fantastic if the first group of students that went on our program within Uzbekistan actually came up with a POC, a proof of concept, at the end of their 12 months? And wouldn't it be fantastic if that POC actually became a product that got implemented and maybe got patented and became a global product? That's the vision that we're going to try and set through this AI diploma. We want innovation and we want new ideas to come from the region. Okay, just to finish off on this last bit is about what my call to action will be. What do we need from the people within this room? Now, my CEO mentioned the government needs to support, the private sector needs to support, the universities and academies need to support, and obviously the students need to be highly engaged in order to do that. So finishing off as my summary, my call to action is that we have fully programs, education for the local population, whether that be an apprenticeship scheme where they go into the data center as engineers, or whether that becomes an AI program where they come out and become the data scientists of the future. There are jobs for them, so it's important that we actually prepare them for that future. So I want to ask for investment in local talent, and I'm glad that we've had the signature today with ITEA, because that's the first step, to start partnering with institutions, with academies, to start building these programs, and hopefully launch one in the very near future. We're not talking about 12 months, too late. We're talking months, weeks, very soon in the future. Okay, and that's the rapid pace that we need to adopt. And then finally, if we look at the partnerships for innovation, we want to make sure that industries are heavily involved in this innovation process to help us come up with the new ideas, to help the students take a real case study from start to finish and build a product at the end of it. So when they graduate, not only do they have these skills and abilities now, but they're actually understanding of what business needs are and how they can solve those business problems. So looking forward to working with ITEA, looking forward to working with the colleges, the universities, and more importantly, Looking forward to the graduation of the young students in 12, 24 months' time when they finish their program. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Our next conference partner is Sanjit Banerjee, and he's going to talk about artificial intelligence and why is it going to become the next industrial revolution. Thank you, Sinchan.
Testing, testing. There you go. Thank you, Gary, for that great presentation. I think what you touched upon about education, and especially in the artificial intelligence, data science world, is extremely important. For a long time, we had our data scientists mainly working on machine learning algorithms, trying to understand our data, all of that kind of stuff. And today I'm going to talk about how now they're working on the next industrial revolution, which is a very different world altogether. We have a lot of opportunities in Uzbekistan with this new rise of AI and the efficiency that it brings to the market. So with that in mind, first let me give you a background of how did we end up here, right? We all of a sudden are hearing this word AI all the time. DataVolt is all in on AI. Why did this come to be? So for a long time, starting in the 1970s, they used to call it the golden age of AI. Things were exciting, all these new algorithms were coming out. You could start predicting and classifying things. But then it kind of got stuck. It didn't go that far over a long period of time. Early 2010s, we start seeing GPUs come into the market, which start changing these algorithms. So neural networks finally became more than something you just look at on a textbook, but you can run at scale. And they start performing and behaving in a cognitive way. So that is a big unlock. Around 2016, 2017, Google comes out with transformers, which is a new technique for training these neural networks on GPUs, TPUs, all of these kinds of hardware. And that ushers in eventually, with OpenAI's help, new large language models, which can do efficiency on a new scale. Not just are we doing classification and prediction, but we're able to do cognitive workloads. We're able to take in all sorts of unstructured data and put it into the system. It can truly understand it and do so much with it. With that in mind, now, we said AI is a new industrial revolution. Each industrial revolution was about efficiency. We started off with mechanization, with steam engines, then we go on to electrification and mass production. And then I'm going to call the third industrial revolution the internet, which did unlock society, communication, all sorts of beautiful things for humanity in general, right? I'm talking on this, I'm seeing this, it's all because of the internet. Then now we have a huge leap in efficiency coming about. I think everyone here has heard about AI, but I don't think you necessarily feel the efficiencies yet. But coming from the DataVolt San Francisco office, I'm seeing so much of that happening right now, where efficiencies are being unlocked. People are creating new products which will really change how we do business, how we work on a day-to-day basis, and really unlock so many things. A lot of people are afraid about jobs being taken by AI, things of that nature. I believe that it's not about that. It's more about how do we actually just get better as a society? How do we do more, faster, better? And so with that in mind, we talk about what are the opportunities for Uzbekistan here right now. First big thing is the tech hub potential. Each region in the world right now is vying for dominance in this AI race. Silicon Valley is winning. We have some talent in London. And every region, even in Saudi Arabia, people are investing a lot in trying to become the leader in the space. I think Uzbekistan has a huge potential to become the leader in the Central Asian hub by investing not only in data centers, but also in AI services so that the local population can learn how to use these technologies. And also businesses are able to really incorporate these technologies into their day-to-day workflows. With that in mind, what are these use cases? What are we going to use it for? that is what DataVolt is here for. Our San Francisco office, our local office, and our global offices are working together to get all of the latest technology, the latest products in a catalog for you so that you can actually come in and do use cases in agriculture, logistics, energy management. These are just some of the main use cases that come in mind. But we're going to work with companies and the government here to talk about what are your day-to-day use cases, what are your challenges, and how do we identify the right solution for you and build it out for you. All right. So yeah, we've talked about the energy benefits of DataVolt before. I think some of the other pieces that everyone looks for in a data center, traditionally, especially AI data center, is security, scalability, and speed. We are working a lot, not just in terms of the construction side of things, but also with our partners in Silicon Valley, like Supermicro, to understand, hey, what is the optimal data center design in today's world? Data centers didn't change for a long time, but now things have changed. New GPUs require new kinds of security constraints, new kinds of energy constraints. How do we design that from scratch and make sure that whatever you're getting from DataVolt is something extraordinary and you can just run with it? You don't have to worry about scaling issues, latency issues, things of that nature. Let's go on. And so, yeah, with this in mind, right, you're piggybacking off of what Gary was talking about. We're talking about job creation here in the market with AI. So that's something not just in terms of data science jobs, but also all of these new AI-based products that are out there in the market, they are enabling far new use cases. Something that you were doing manually before, you don't have to. But now you're going to have to aggregate data so that we're able to run an AI model on top of it. There's all these new jobs that need to be created, and we're ideally going to be able to enable that as DataVolt in the margin, in the region. Then in terms of public sector efficiency, there's a lot of knowledge in these AI models that are coming out that not just make you efficient, but also enable you to envision new strategies for your economies, for your governments, in ways that traditionally you'd have to hire maybe a local expert that might not be in the region for it, right? So these models are getting really, really good and really, really smart. And ideally, the public sector can work with these models to really level up what is going on in the country. With that in mind, next slide. Yeah, so what are we offering here in the market? I'm going to show you two of the products that we have from our catalog in the market right now that we're going to be working with companies and governments in order to figure out the right use cases, put it into production so that everyone in the country is able to get a taste of the latest and greatest products from the markets. When I say latest AI tech, right, you'll see a lot of people talking about AI models out there. It's not just about getting a model from Meta, like Llama, and just putting it out there and starting to use it, right? If you actually want to use it in the government, in a business, you're going to have to put a layer on top of it in order to truly harness what that model is capable of. It can be everything from prompt engineering, it could be from RAG. How do you get data from your current systems, put it into this model so that it's able to actually answer questions for you in a specific use case? This is non-trivial, and thankfully, because DataVolt has these kinds of connections in the San Francisco market, we're able to bring these products from there to this new region in a way that traditionally would be very hard, right? It would be hard to discover these products, understand how they could come into this region and sell here. We're fortunately going to be able to bridge that gap. And so then the second part is the AI experts that we have. We have people from MIT, Google, Microsoft, all these different companies on our team who have built generative AI solutions for companies and governments before and in a production scale. So with that expertise and background, we're able to come in and actually find a good solution for you. We're not just going to try to give you a model and run away. We're going to try to solve a need that's in the market with you. So now we're going to get into the demos. So I'm going to show you two of the products from our product catalog right now. The first one is Sankubol, whose founder had actually come to Uzbekistan a few months ago, which is exciting. And I'm going to show you how we can use mobile apps that are built on Thunkable to do AI-based processing and do it extremely easily. Then the second one is going to be something we've been hearing a lot about in terms of latency, right? So being not directly connected to strong networks around the world, we're seeing a lot of latency in this market. One way to combat that is by introducing new infrastructure, new subsea cables, so that we're able to get faster internet. The other way is to actually make these models faster, to run them more efficiently on a data center so that they can generate images, for example, extremely fast. So I'll show you during the Thunkable demo right here, the image will be generated a little slowly, but in our optimized image generator that we're bringing into this market, that one is able to generate images insanely fast. So we'll see it happen live, which will be exciting. So now, yeah, this one, first let me give you an overview. Thunkable has a lot of good use cases. It can be not only in education and government services, you can also do things in manufacturing. So let's say you have a large oil field. You want to make an app which helps you track open maintenance requests, things of that nature. You can do that with Thunkable really easily. And I'll show you some of the image recognition and other capabilities that might help do these kinds of things. And so, yeah, I think, yep. So this is a video because of the way this presentation works, but I recorded it this morning. As you'll see, I'm wearing the same suit in the photo that appears. So I'm creating a new app for Uzbekistan. This is going to be a very quick demo, and it'll show you how quickly you can really build an app with this tool and offer this to other businesses, start a company, do all sorts of things. Here I'm generating an image with Uzbekistan as the prompt for our AI model in the back end. You'll see this one's a little slower, and this is the normal amount of time it takes OpenAI's models, all of that, to generate images. Beautiful. We have an AI-generated image of Uzbekistan. I'm going to add a button right now so that it's not just this image. We can actually take any images and do something with it. So very easily, this is how you add behavior in Thunkable. So you add these building blocks. So here I'm saying when a button is clicked, you will put the image as something that is a photo from the camera. And just by describing it this way, we can basically get started that way. And so I'm going to add a couple of other components here just to give this more full-fledged functionality. So what we're turning into here is a translation app with an image-taking functionality in there. So we're going to take an image, we're going to generate a description using AI, and then we're going to translate it on the fly. And I'll show you how easy it is to do that. So I've added two labels. For the first label, we're going to get the text from the actual photo that we took. So I'm going to add a description image from the photo from the camera. I'm going to take image one's photo, put it right there. Then we're going to add the translation piece right now. So again, setting the text label for label 2. I'm going to go in, yep, translation. We have a lot of languages that are supported, including Uzbek. It's not readable here, but I picked Uzbek. And now I'm just going to set the text to what we recognized from the image using AI. And ta-da, you can actually preview your app without putting it on your phone, just on the website itself. And here, that's what I'm showing. I actually, on my laptop, it opened up the camera, and it took a photo of me. Looked pretty bad, but this is, now you see it actually generated caption. What it says is a man wearing a suit, smiling at the camera, and then it actually translated it into Uzbek right there. So very quick, we're able to generate an app that you can deploy onto the iOS App Store and the Android App Store that is using AI not just to recognize what's inside of an image, but also to translate it. And also you could generate the image as well using AI. With that in mind, we're going to go on to the next piece. Yeah. So yeah, we saw that. That was cool. We used AI in a bunch of different ways really quickly, and now you can build apps. Now let's show you what you can do in terms of latency with new models that are optimized for a data center like DataVolt. This is something we built for our data centers, and this is able to run insanely fast, right? So you can use this for marketing ad campaigns for your companies. you're doing social media posts, you can generate images really easily. You can do planning for things where, traditionally you would have to get an artist, a graphic designer to create a rendering for you. Versus now, these AI models are getting really good at generating something really fast. So let's see how fast we can be. And yeah, there you go. So I have a photo of a raccoon. You can't read the text, but the prompt was describing a raccoon. Now I'm starting to write horse. And then I'm saying in Uzbekistan, and I'll keep writing. I forget what I wrote after. Yeah, in a futuristic city with neon lights. And you saw how quickly those images came. Those weren't images that I got from the internet or existed before. They happened live in milliseconds. And this is working, this is in the morning at the hotel in Uzbekistan. So even with latency, we're able to generate images so quickly using AI. And this is happening actually in our San Francisco data center of DataVolt. So those images are getting generated over there, being sent all the way over here so fast. And this is crazy. If anyone has used DALL-E from OpenAI, it takes a while. It takes a few seconds at least to just generate one image, which we saw in Thunkable earlier. But now we're able to generate images insanely fast. And so these are just a couple of products from our product catalog that we're launching in Uzbekistan now. But there's far more tools and products out there that can really change how we do business, how we learn, how we run the government in this country. And so very exciting times. I'm excited the DataVolt is here, then has brought me and all these other amazing people to really see what we can do and help the government and the economy here. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Sanjit. And to do the final closure, I'll hand over now to Tom Tirling, the Chief Growth Officer of DataVolt. Thank you.
Thank you. I came for the first time to Uzbekistan exactly 25 years ago in 1999. It was a country that lived in the past. It was a wonderful country. I had a very good time. I spent time in Tashkent, in Samarkand, in Bukhara. And I have, but there are two issues that I really remembered from that time. First of all, when I drove from Bukhara to Samarkand to Tashkent, I saw so many people working in the fields. I saw almost no automation in agriculture. Second thing I really remember is that when in Tashkent, I couldn't, for sure there were no digital payments, credit cards could almost not be used, and I was walking around in the streets of Tashkent with a backpack full of Uzbek sums. So I was really fun. I really have very good memories of that trip. But again, as I said, it was a wonderful country, but it was a country living in the past. So 20 years later, in 2019, when I was requested to go to Tashkent, to go to Uzbekistan, and see what we can do in the energy sector, I had a lot of doubts because I still thought about Uzbekistan from the past, and I couldn't really think of that we would be able to do anything. But then when I landed in Tashkent in April 2019, I was very, very pleasantly surprised because there was really that vision of a new Uzbekistan in the country. There were really those great ideas for change, for growth. And I was particularly impressed by the drive of the people. I was particularly impressed by the dynamics of the people who wanted really to change their country for the better. Now, 5 years later, 2024, look around what you see. You see solar plants, you see wind farms, you see new infrastructure, you see new roads, you see new businesses, you see plenty of new opportunities. So you can see it hasn't just been great ideas, that vision is really being implemented. What we see also, and for those of you who have, and I hope all of you have walked around here in the fair, there is a very interesting booth from the Ministry of Digital Technologies, particularly e-government. And you see also in this country, e-government is really widely used, is very well implemented thanks to the Ministry of Digital Technologies. And I think this afternoon in this session, we have heard some very promising news for the future of Uzbekistan. We've heard the Minister of Digital Technologies talk about the goals of the further digitization of the country. But not only goals, we have also heard of the actual work streams that are ongoing to implement those goals in the country. What we've also heard from my colleagues at DataVolt is all the opportunities that artificial intelligence can bring. We just heard that from Sinchan. Those opportunities in making all sectors, public sectors, private sectors, in the economy, in the country, more efficient, including also agriculture, education, health sector, science, and also the opportunities to bring new jobs to the country and new type of jobs of the country. And what's very important also, what we've also heard this afternoon, is all of that can be done in a sustainable way, very importantly. So what I would like to invite everyone who attended this conference to, and particularly the young people, when you leave this conference in a couple of days, to really look at what everything Uzbekistan has been able to achieve in the last 7 years. And then think of what you can achieve in the next 5 years, thanks to also the digitization, the further digitization, artificial intelligence, because the future is really with Uzbekistan. Rahmat. So I would like to invite everybody who's left here in the conference to come to the stage for a group picture.